We're holding now Tisha B'Av in the afternoon, right around the middle of Tisha B'Av. Interesting to note that the year of Churban Bais Rishon, the Gemara says that the Churban happened on a Sunday. The Gemara says Motzah Shabbos, and Rashi says, Rashi says, B'Yom Rishon. So maybe it's to be able to connect a little more. This year, it's not common that Tisha B'Av falls on a Sunday. It could fall on a Shabbos and be nitcha to a Sunday, but to fall on a Sunday is very uncommon. We're holding, in 20 years, but Be'ez Hashem Mashiach will come way before then, and Taka will have the Yom Tov of Tisha B'Av on a Sunday, even before 20 years, Yibekadosh Al Pi Ariyah. We're holding now in between two Havdalos. I spoke about it Friday morning. There was a chelik of a Havdalah that was done last night, Atachayin Antonu, the Havdalah B'Tvilah, Boiremoire Eish. These Havdalah tonight, Hagofen and Hamavdal. Be'ez Hashem will speak now. Someone asked before, what's the topic? We'll speak. The limud, the essence of Tisha B'Av is Havdalah. We're standing in between Havdalahs. Let's focus a little bit. The lesson of Tisha B'Av, Havdalah. When we make Havdalah, we're going to make Havdalah tonight. We say Hamavdil bein Kodesh l'Choil, bein Oir l'Choshech, bein Yisrael l'Amim. The Havdalah between day and night is a fact, and there's a buffer zone in between that Havdalah. These bein hashmoshes, and you can't move it even if you want to. These day, these night, and then these in between a little bit of Havdalah. Says the Bais Alevi, just like you can't move the buffer between day and night, that bein hashmoshes you cannot move bichlal, so too the Havdalah bein Yisrael l'Amim, the Havdalah between a Yid and a Goy cannot be moved bichlal. Says the Bais Alevi that if a Yid moves himself closer to the Goy, there will automatically be a Havdalah. The Eibush is going to make the Goy is going to push the Yid back. But often, just like between day and night, there's a buffer zone bein hashmoshes that doesn't change. So too between Yisrael l'Amim, there's a buffer in between us and the Goyim, and it doesn't change. And even if a Goy, a Yid, tries to make him be medam himself, bring himself closer to the Goy, there's going to be a harchaka. Rabbi Chaim, who was killed in World War II, Hashem Yinkam Damai, brings this Bais Alevi and expands. He says, the more that a Yid moves himself closer to the Goy, the harder the pushback is from the Goy to the Yid. Like the Bais Alevi explains, there's a buffer zone that is muchrach to be. There's a hefsek between the Yid and the Goy, just like between day and night, between Yisrael l'Amim also, and the more the Yid gets closer to the Goy, the harder the pushes from the Goy to the Yid. He brings Mitzrayim. When the Yidden were in Mitzrayim and they were working hard, the Yidden tried to become friendly to the Mitzrim with the thought that when they're going to become friendly to the Mitzrim, the Mitzrim are going to like them and they're not going to have to work as much. What did the Eibush to do? Zok the Pasuk in Tehillim. Hafach libam l'snoi oisam. The Eibush made that the Mitzrim should hate the Yidden. And how the Sfas Emes says the same Yisoid, and the Sfas Emes says we say it in Tehillim as a Shira, that it's a toiver from the Rabbeinu Shalom, that when the Yidden try to get closer to the Goy, the Eibush makes that the Goy should push back with this same idea that there should be a merchek between the Yid and the Goy. The Havdalah between the Yid and the Goy is muchrach. It has to be. Ad kedei kach, says the Sfas Emes, that the Mitzrayim themselves be'etzem didn't want to hate the Yidden. They didn't want the Eibishter made the Mitzrayim should hate them. Rabbi Chaim brings a Rashi. Rashi says, Im atem muvdolim min ha'amim. If you are separated, min ha'amim harei atem sheli, you're mine. V'im lav, if you get close to the goyim, harei atem shel Nebuchadnezzar v'chaveirav, you're part of Nebuchadnezzar. Explains Rabbi Chanan, Rashi is saying, what does it mean you're part of Nebuchadnezzar? Meaning to say is you're in Nebuchadnezzar's hands to push back, to separate, to differentiate the Yid from the Goy. It said from the Bais HaLevi, and we had last night an unbelievable presentation, mamash, on this topic of anti-Semitism and being mavdal the Yid from the Goy, how he showed in the beginning of World War II, people that didn't look like a Yid whatsoever, they had in their passport a yellow stamp. The says when the Yid tried to get close to the guy pushed them back. The Bais HaLevi said that if a Yid doesn't make Kiddush, Kiddush means what the Gemara says, to Makadosh himself, not to be like the guy, then the guy makes Havdalah. If the Yid doesn't make Kiddush, the guy makes Havdalah. The Ainu, like what we're saying, to be Mavdal between the Yid and the guy. About the same note, when Ramey Shapiro came back from one of his trips from America, collecting, so they asked him, tell us about the Yidden in America. So Ramey Shapiro said, the Yidden in America know how to make Kiddush, but they don't know how to make Havdalah. The same idea, the same line, they don't know how to make Havdalah, to say is to be Mavdal, to separate ourselves between the Yid and the Goy. We'll soon see how this is connected to Tisha B'Av. This is relevant for every single day of the year, the concept of Havdalah. These are unbelievable Meshech Chachma. Ramey Simcha writes, it's a long piece and I'm only taking out a very brief part of it. Ramey Simcha says that throughout the generations there's going to be times that the Yidden are going to start mixing themselves into the Goyim. They're going to be medama themselves to the Goyim. They're going to want to be like the Goyim. Like he says, what the friar used to say, what do we need Yerushalayim? Berlin in Germany is like Yerushalayim. What do we need Yerushalayim? Says the Meshech Chachma, the Eibishter is going to come and is going to be Oiker Klal Yisrael from that place, put them into a different place that they don't know the language, they don't feel comfortable over there, and then they'll appreciate and understand the Havdalah Yid of a Goy. The Meshech Chachma was nifter in 1926, just a short few years before the war, and he says, first of all, he says that when Yidden are going to start calling Berlin Yerushalayim, and we don't need Yerushalayim, what's going to happen is what happened, Taka, in 1933, when Hitler rose to power, and then the Holocaust, Rahman al-Atzlan, Hashem Yimkom Damam. On the note of Havdalah, to be mavdal ourselves from the Goyim, the Megala Amukos. The Megala Amukos was nifter almost 400 years ago. The Megala Amukos wrote a sefer on the words V'eschanan. In this week's parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu davened to go into Eretz Yisrael. He wrote a sefer, Keminyan V'eschanan, 252 pshatim, being masber what Moshe Rabbeinu was mespalul in that tefillah going into Eretz Yisrael. 250 Keminyan V'eschanan, and he says, not Keminyan V'eschanan. Keminyan, what the Eibishter told him back, Ravloch, not to daven anymore. V'eschanan is more than 252. Al Kaponim, Zokta Megala Amukos. Havdalah has 4 brachas. Actually, tonight it only has 2 brachas, but a regular Matzah Shabbos, Havdalah has 4 brachas. Keneged the 4 golios. It's in Parshas Vayetze, when Yaakov had the dream with the ladder, the Medrash says that Yaakov saw the Goliath when he was going to Lavan. Zokta Megala Amukos, when we make Havdalah, the 4 brachos, Yiboneh, Yayin, Besamim, Ner, and Havdalah, those 4 brachos are connected the Dalit Goliath. Yayin is the Goliath of Nebuchadnezzar, the Goliath of Bavel, brings psukim. Besamim is Goliath Modai Achashverosh. The pasuk Kachlecha Besamim Roish Mor Deroyer is Mordechai. Neir, that's an easy one, is the Goliath Yavon. We have the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah. And then he says Havdalah is being meramis on the Goliath of Edom. The essence of the Goliath is Havdalah. We have to be mavdal from Edom. He brings Vevdilu Hashem L'Ra in Parshas Netzavim. L'Asid, we're going to be Makabel Geirim from all over, besides from Edom. The Metzias, the Kiyum of Klal Yisrael, is with the Havdalah to be mavdal min Amim. The Rakanti, one of the Rishonim in Parshas Korach, says that when we make Havdalah, the Havdalah is to be mavdal Klal Yisrael from the Satan, from the Samach Mem, from the Tumah. Havdalah is to be mavdal. Reb Tzadok HaKoyim Milablin asks the following question. Kiddush we make on wine. We understand why we make Kiddush on wine, because we're going into Shabbos. It's a happy time. It's an exciting time. We understand why you make Kiddush ALIYAH. However, Havdalah, we're leaving Shabbos. Why do we make Havdalah ALIYAH? Why do you make Havdalah ALIYAH? You make Havdalah, there's a din to be mavdal, but why ALIYAH? The Gemara says that b'schar zeh of Havdalah, somebody that's nizer yiskel abanim talmidei chachamim balei ra. What does it have to do with Havdalah? Says Reb Tzadok, and he brings a Gemara in Sanhedrin. The Gemara says, Shoal turnus brus es Reb Akiva. What's the difference between the 6 days and Shabbos? What's the chiluk? It all looks the same. Klal Yisrael has Shabbos. Why dafka Shabbos? Why not Tuesday? What's the big deal of Shabbos? So Rabbi Akiva answered back, what's the difference between you and any other person? You're a Adoin, you're a special person. What's the difference between you and anybody else? So he said, whoa. You know why I'm big? Because the king made me big. That's why I'm big. So Rabbi Akiva said, you know why Shabbos is big? Because the Eibishter made Shabbos big. That's why Shabbos is big. Explains Reb Tzadok this Gemara, and he says like this. If you just look at the days, there's no difference between the 6 days and Shabbos. There's no difference between one person and the next person. However, if a person uses his seichel, his havana, then he can understand his kedusha Shabbos, a person prepares for Shabbos. The physical day itself, there's no difference between Shabbos and the rest of the week. But if a person behavana, beseichel, he could see, he could understand. The same thing is also with people. A person, a yid and a goy, these people, that's what he asked them, what's the difference? Rabbi Akiva asked, and what's the difference between you and anybody else? Taseisi is bringing out, to be able to understand the chiluk between a yid and a goy is a davar hamuskel. He brings the Yishalmi im ein deya havdalah minayin. To understand the chiluk between a yid and a goy, to know between Shabbos and the rest of the week, a person has to have havana. It's not just a physical, you have to understand it. Memela zokt Reb Tzadok like this: when does a person have the havana that is a chiluk between Shabbos and the rest of the week. When does he have that Havana? Shabbos, you go into Shabbos, but when Shabbos leaves and you start feeling the gaguim, the hergeshim of missing Shabbos, that's when you start picking up that is a chiluk between Shabbos and the rest of the week. Memela, Zokter Tzadik, the Havdalah is Motzah Shabbos as opposed to Shabbos. Going into Shabbos, you don't bedafka feel it. Memela answers and he says that's why biyayin. Why biyayin? Because it's so important, it's so special, the Havdalah, biyayin, because that's what brings out the Havdalah between Shabbos and the rest of the week. Going into the Shabbos, lav dafka, you always right away pick it up. But when Shabbos leaves, you're making Havdalah, you start feeling you're missing that Shabbos, that's why you make it ALIYAH, and that also explains why Baalei Hairah. Because to be a Baal Hairah, you have to have Havana, Seichel, to be Maven. That's how he explains Havdalah of a Shabbos, the Havdalah between 6 days and Shabbos. He also goes into Havdalah between Yisrael Amim, Ayin Sham, but I want to try to connect this and bring this in Mamish Lamaisa right here for Tisha B'Av. We spoke till now that there's a Havdalah between the 6 days and Shabbos, there's a Havdalah bein Yisrael Amim. That Havdalah Be'etzim is relevant throughout the whole year. The Yitav Lev in Parshas Devarim, in yesterday's Parsha, on the Pasuk, Atem Oivrim Begvul Achechem B'nei Esav. Bepashtis, and the Pasuk says not to fight around with Esav. The Medrash says that it's going also L'doiris, which means when Klal Yisrael is going to be in Golis, also not to be Mizgara B'umois. Zok the Yitav Lev, it's being Meramis, another Pshat, a Drush, it's being Meramis, it's referring to Tisha B'Av. The day of Tisha B'Av is the day of Esav. The Shloah HaKadosh brings that Soroi Shel Esav is Shoyle today on Tisha B'Av. And that's why the Churban was able to happen on Tisha B'Av, because it's Esav's day. Esav is Shoylet, and only because Esav is Shoylet was it Shaykh that the Churban should happen. Zok the Pasuk ad Yitav Lev is being Masber. Atem Oivrim B'Gvul Achechem B'nei Esav. Today, Tisha B'Av, you're going through the Gvul of Esav. You're going through Esav. Don't get involved with Esav. To bring this out, to bring out that it's a day to be Mavdil. One of the Talmidim of the Chassam Sofer said over from his Rebbe, the Chassam Sofer, we all just got up just a little bit before from sitting on the floor saying Kinus. After all the Charbonos, we get up and we say, Aleinu l'shabeach ladoina koil. So the Chassam Sofer says, Moiridik, every other day in the year I understand, even if we're in Golas, Aleinu l'shabeach shlo yasoni kegoya arotzois. I understand if you say it Pesach, Zman Cheiruseinu, you say it Shabbos. To say it on Tisha B'Av, we just finished speaking about how Klal Yisrael, with such hardship, so many tzoris throughout the Doiris, and we say Shlei Asonu Ki Goya Arotzos Shlei Samana Ki Mishpachos Adamu, we're different than the Goy. Zok the Chassam Sofer, yes, today is the day to be margish. We're like we said before that it's the Yom of Esav, but today is day to be margish, that even though there's so many tzoros that we went through, still to get up and to say Aleinu. To say Aleinu. But Oifen, let's sum it up what we're saying over here. We're standing over here between two Havdalas of last night and tonight. We're going to make Havdalah tonight. Hamavdal ben Kodesh l'chor, ben Oil l'choshe, ben Yisrael l'amim. Tisha B'Av is a day when we're standing in the day of Esav to be Mavdal. The Dogel Mervav is Medayik from the Maril, that when you make Havdalah tonight, you make Havdalah ALIYAH. You make a gofen. To say it's not Chamar Medina. We spoke about it. If somebody has to make Havdalah throughout Tisha B'Av, you shouldn't make on wine. It's a shiur, you can listen, it's available on Torah anytime, but separate. But tonight, you make Havdalah ALIYAH. At kedei kach, that even those that are noyig in the 9 days, that you give the Motzah Shabbos Chazoin, to say it's last week Motzah Shabbos, that a tinuk drinks the wine, but tonight, it doesn't say to give to a tinuk. Could be those are noyig like that, but it's different. What's the chilek? Last week was a minig. Tonight, that we don't drink yayin and eat basar is minig kosher. Avadu were noyig the minig, but it's minig kosher. Agav l'maymer amusker, it's important to note. I'm going off topic, but I'm constantly getting this question, if you're allowed to learn this afternoon, and other shilas. Tisha B'Av is noyig the whole day, anything that's dina dashas, the minhagim of sitting on the floor, tol chatzois, the minhagim that we took off the paroiches, tol chatzois. But al kaponim, there's a chilek between minig and minig kosher. Tonight is minig kosher that the Shulchan Aruch says, the Mechaber and the Ramah. But al kaponim, when you make Havdalah tonight, you make Havdalah with wine. Why do you make Havdalah tonight with wine? Just like Reb Tzadok said, that Motzah Shabbos, a person is supposed to feel, a person feels the hargosha of the Havdalah between Shabbos and the rest of the week. Tonight, Motzoi Tisha B'Av, a person zoicha, a person can be margish the Havdalah ben Yisrael Amim. Today is the day of Amim of Esav. So when we make Havdalah tonight, first we have to work on it. We have a few hours to work on it to understand that we're movdal min Amim. But the Havdalah tonight is a Havdalah ben Yisrael Amim, and that's where ALIYAH. Bedoime ALIYAH Motzah Shabbos. This is all very nice for the Bali Madrega. Could be even many of you, all of you, Bali Madrega, the taka feel the Havdalah. That's taka the avoida, to feel the Havdalah. What happens if you don't feel the Havdalah? So first of all, the Svasemes says in Parshas Matos, Moirid de Gezach, this is the only thing I'm going to say, the Lashon inside. And it's the Geya for Tisha B'Av in general about Avelis also. V'tzorach sh'layal al adas, a person shouldn't think she'ena mevur etzloi ha'emes. A person's not on the madrega. He's not really feeling the Avelis of Tisha B'Av, that it's sheker chas v'shalom. Ki einer kein. Sheyesh b'chol ish Yisrael rotzain emes bilti l'Hashem levadoi. Every person has in himself the rotzain, a built-in that he wants to do right. Ulezois mishim yageya atzmai lovil nekuda amitis. A person that works on himself to get to this nekuda amitis, even b'dimyon, it's still emes, oktas vas emes. Because ba'olam ha'sheker ha'hergel nasa teva. So the first thing is that even though it's taka madrega, but lamaisa, a person could bring himself to it. A person could bring himself to touch this concept of Havdalah, to understand we're movdal ben Yisrael la'amim. Until we get there, we have to know it's not our fault. In exactly 2 months from tonight, Leil Yom Kippur, we're going to say, Has kateger v'kach saneger makoymoi. Pashtus, you understand, we're davening to the Rabbeinu Shalom to take away the prosecutor, the kach saneger, put a defense instead, b'mkoymoi, in the place of where the prosecutor was. Reb Chatzkel Abramsky explains differently. Kach has kateger, take away taka, the prosecutor, but how? Al yedei the Saneger should be Mekoimoi, look where Klal Yisrael is holding. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. So we don't have to have Chalishas Adas that we don't feel the Hevdel, but at least we should know where we're heading, what the right thing is, what we want to try to get to. On the note, was saying that it's not our fault, how Reb Chatzkel Abramsky says that is the Saneger, Mekoimi, where Klal Yisrael is. Right after World War II, the Baba of Rebbe, Reb Shloime, in Manhattan, in New York City, needed a minyan. Not like today, he needed a minyan. He asked his son, Reb Naftulcha, to go out to get people, to bring people to make a minyan. He went out, he brought people, they had a minyan. He tells his father, you should know, when I was outside trying to get a minyan, I saw a Talmud, a previous Talmud of Baba back in the Chaim, that was smoking. I didn't call him into the minyan, but I'm just telling you. So the Baba Rebbe said, tell him, next week when you work on the minyan, call him and tell him I want him to daven for the Amid Kabbalah Shabbos. So he went and he saw him and he asked him and he said, what do you mean, me the daven Kabbalah Shabbos? What do you mean Kabbalah Shabbos? I'm smoking, I'm not a Shemer Shabbos. So he said, come, my father wants to speak to you. And Reb Shlomo Baba said, you're not smoking, it's the German inside you that's smoking. And with that, he brought him in. He has Eineklich learning in Kailul. Al Kaponim, on the note of, we're not holding there yet, but Avada, we want to try to get there, to get to this level of Avdallah, to be Mavdal. Like we said yesterday, Atachayin Antonu last night, we're going to say tonight, HaMavdal, Bekodesh Chaben Elachayshep and Yisrael La'amim, the Avdallah. And the Avdallah is going to be ALIYAH. We should be Zoichet Hake to get to this Madrega, that the Eibush that chose us, Shlo Yasonu Kegoyi Arotzais, and the ultimate chilek and hafrada with the Beis Hamikdash Ashlishi, b'mheiri yamein b'mshiach tzedkenu, amen.